The first sound you hear isn't an alarm, it's a sigh. A deep from-the-soul release of air at 6:32 in the morning. That's me, Mark, and my eyes are open in the dark of my Austin, Texas apartment before the first chirp of my iPhone even happens. I don't move. I just stare at the faint crack of dawn light peeking through the blinds. My brain is already running. Not with ideas, not with excitement. It's a chaotic scrolling of a to-do list that didn't exist 10 seconds ago. Asterisk, finish the Q2 analytics deck. Email Sarah about the Portland account. Did I pay the internet bill? Did I send my mom a birthday text? What's that weird noise the car is making? Asterisk, it's a mental avalanche before my feet even hit the floor. Then the alarm does blare. It's not a gentle chime. It's the classic radar sound, the one that feels like a digital ice pick to the temple. My hand, clumsy with sleep, slaps at the screen, silence for 3 whole seconds. And then, asterisk, buzz, asterisk, a notification. A Slack message from David on the East Coast, who's been working for 2 hours already. Hey, circling back on this, my stomach knots. I'm behind and I haven't even gotten up. This is the opening act. The next 15 minutes are a blur of cold kitchen tiles under my feet, the gurgle and hiss of the coffee maker, and the blue-white glow of my laptop already open on the counter as I scoop grounds. I'm reading the news. I'm checking the markets. I'm scrolling LinkedIn and seeing a post from a college rival who just closed a life-changing round of funding. The cold brew I chug tastes bitter, and it does nothing but add a jittery layer to the tired fog. By 7:15 a.m., I'm in my 2080 Honda Civic, stuck in the crawl of traffic on South Lamar Boulevard. The podcast is playing some productivity guru talking about maximizing your morning miracle. His voice is just noise. I'm not hearing words. I'm replaying an awkward comment I made in yesterday's Zoom meeting. The sun is too bright. The guy in the truck next to me is honking at nothing. My phone, mounted on the dashboard, lights up with a calendar alert. Performance review prep to 10 a.m. A cold wave washes over me. I'm not ready. I haven't even started. This is the before. This is the reality for millions of us. It's not lazy, it's the opposite. It's a frantic, reactive energy. You're a pinball in your own life, bouncing from one demand to the next. A Slack ping rockets you from your work. A news alert steals your attention. A quick question from a colleague derails your train of thought for an hour. You sit down at your desk at 9 a.m. with the best intentions. You're going to crush that big project, the one that requires deep, creative thinking. You open the document. You type a title, and then your email pings. It's probably important. You check it, it's a newsletter, you close it. A text from a friend about weekend plans, you reply, you go back to the document. You reread the title, your brain feels fuzzy. Like a radio stuck between stations, just static and bits of songs. You check LinkedIn again. Maybe you open TikTok, just for a minute, and suddenly it's 10:07 a.m., and you've written 47 words, and you feel a strange cocktail of guilt, anxiety, and defeat. Here's the painful truth, the one we rarely say out loud. You leave the office at 5:30 p.m. feeling mentally exhausted, your eyes dry from screens, your neck tight. But when someone asks you, what did you actually accomplish today? You draw a blank. You were busy, swamped even, but that big, meaningful thing? That project that would move the needle? It's still sitting there, untouched. You spent the day putting out small fires while the real mountain you need to climb just got taller. So what do? We think we need more discipline, more willpower. We download the app blockers. We buy the fancy planners with the inspirational quotes. We try the 5 a.m. club for a week and feel like a zombie by Wednesday. We tell ourselves, tomorrow I'll buckle down. Tomorrow I'll have the energy. And tomorrow feels just like today. But I want to ask you a single, powerful question. It might make you a bit uncomfortable. Ready? What if your obsession with being productive is the very thing making you unproductive? Think about it. The pressure to always be on, to always be checking, responding, optimizing, it's shattered your attention into a million little pieces. You can't focus on one thing because you're trained to monitor everything. The sound of a notification isn't just a sound, it's a tiny shot of anxiety. The sight of an unread email count isn't just a number, it's a weight. I want you to remember a specific feeling. It's 2:30 p.m. You've been in back-to-back meetings since lunch. You finally have an hour to yourself. You sit down and a wave of mental fatigue hits you so hard it's almost physical. Your brain feels like wet sand. You can't start. You just stare at the screen. That feeling? That's not you being broken. That's your mind screaming for a different way to work. We've all bought into a lie. A big, shiny, motivational poster lie. The lie says that discipline is about white-knuckling your way through tasks you hate. It's about fighting your nature, grinding through the resistance with sheer grit. It's you alone trying to push a boulder up a hill every single day. And when you inevitably slip because you're human, you label yourself. I'm so lazy. I'm so easily distracted. I just don't have the willpower others have. That story, that identity, becomes a trap. It weighs you down. It makes every morning a battle you're already expecting to lose. But what if I told you there's a crack in that story? A flaw in the logic? What if the most disciplined people in the world, the top artists, coders, writers, athletes, aren't actually fighting their minds? What if they've discovered a backdoor, a way to work asterisk with asterisk their brain's natural wiring, not against it? The science is there. Researchers at the University of California, Irvine found something staggering. It takes an average of asterisk 23 minutes and 15 seconds asterisk to get back to a deep focus after a single interruption. A single Slack message, a quick question, a notification about a sale at your favorite store, and you just lost almost half an hour of your best thinking. That's your day. That's why you're exhausted. You're not living in a state of work. You're living in a state of constant recovery, trying to swim back to shore after being knocked over by every little wave. But here is where the story changes. Right here, in this moment of recognition, that feeling of being tired of your own chaos. That's the wake-up call. It's not a sign of failure. It's the first spark of clarity. It's you realizing you've been using the wrong map this whole time. The mountain isn't your enemy. The path you chose to climb it is. The lie you believed is about to meet the truth. And the truth has a name. It's not just about working hard. It's about accessing a specific state of mind that transforms effort into flow. And the door to that state isn't locked with a key of punishment. It's opened with a simple, unexpected protocol. A series of tiny, almost effortless hacks that don't demand more from you. They simply redirect what you already have. Your most focused, productive, and honestly, most joyful self isn't buried under more discipline. It's waiting on the other side of a shift, and that shift starts not tomorrow, not next Monday, but with the very next choice you make. The boulder you've been pushing? There's a smooth, hidden road just behind it. All you have to do is stop pushing and turn around, so we've named the problem. That frantic, scattered feeling, the guilt, the exhaustion of a day that went nowhere. You recognize it, that's the first step. But now, we hit the wall. The real, frustrating, why can't I beat this wall? Because you've tried. Oh, you've tried. Let me guess how it went. It's a Sunday night in late October. The air is crisp in Denver, Colorado. A guy, let's call him James, is sitting at his IKEA desk, feeling a surge of determination. He just finished listening to a podcast with a former Navy SEAL. He's fired up. Tomorrow, everything changes. He downloads 3 app blockers. He writes out a schedule in a brand new, leather-bound notebook. 5 a.m., wake up, 5:15, cold shower. 5:30, meditate for 20 minutes. 6 o'clock, intense workout. 7 o'clock, healthy breakfast. 8 o'clock, deep work block. He goes to bed early, setting his alarm with the solemn focus of a pilot preparing for takeoff. Monday morning, the alarm screams at 5 a.m. It's dark. It's cold. His body screams, "This is a terrible idea," but he grits his teeth. He is a willpower warrior. He forces himself into that cold shower, gasping. He sits to meditate, but his mind is a riot of, "I am tired, and this is stupid." He skips the last 5 minutes. The workout feels like punishment. By 8 a.m., he's at his desk, already drained, but he's followed the plan. He opens his coding program. This is it, the moment of triumph, and his brain is mush. Complete, utter mush. He stares at the lines of code from Friday. They look like hieroglyphics. A deep resentment bubbles up. This feels awful. This feels like forcing a square peg into a round hole over and over. By 10 a.m., he's broken. He disables the app blocker just to check one thing. 2 hours later, he's down a rabbit hole of YouTube tutorials about woodworking. He eats a sad desk lunch, feeling like a fraud. Tuesday, he hits snooze until 6:30. The whole elaborate castle of discipline collapses in one moment of weakness. By Friday, the notebook is buried under mail, the app blockers are deleted, and the story he tells himself is cemented. I guess I just gone deaf, the discipline gene. Other people can do this. I can't. Sound familiar? This is the identity trap. It's not that you're lazy. The villain in this story isn't you. It's the belief you've adopted. It's the myth of the willpower warrior. We've been sold this idea that discipline looks like a Spartan soldier. It's about grimacing, grinding, and gutting it out. It's about fighting every natural impulse in your body, the impulse to sleep, to scroll, to take the easy path. We think the person who wins is the one who can endure the most pain. So when we inevitably feel that pain and want to quit, we think we've lost. We think our character is flawed. Let's visualize this trap. Imagine you're in a room. The door to everything you want, that focused state, that feeling of accomplishment, that career growth is on the other side. But between you and the door is this giant, heavy, weighted pendulum. It's swinging back and forth. The common advice is to be the willpower warrior. To plant your feet, grit your teeth, and try to run straight through the swinging weight. You get knocked down, you get up. You try again, you get knocked down again. It's exhausting, painful, and most people just walk away, bruised and convinced the door is locked. But what if you're just using the wrong strategy? What if, instead of fighting the pendulum, you simply observed its rhythm? What if you learned to step between the swings?
This is the heart of it. The willpower warrior believes the force must come from them. They must generate the energy to overcome resistance. Here is the surprising truth that neuroscience is shouting at us. The highest performers are constantly fighting their brains. They're riding them. That state has a name. It's called flow state. When you enter a flow state, your brain releases a powerful mix. A study from the National Institutes of Health found that in this state, your brain doesn't just work a little better. So let's reframe the whole game. The goal is not to become a willpower warrior, suffering your way to success. But what if his first move on that Monday morning was different? You're turning the handle and walking in. This changes everything. It's a compass. It's your brain telling you, hey, you're going about this the hardest possible way. So we have to let go of the old identity. The new story is, I'm learning to work with my brain, not against it. From gritting your teeth to getting curious. The trap we fell into was believing that the feeling of struggle was the feeling of success. It's not. So if willpower is the wrong tool, if fighting ourselves is a losing battle, that's where the real change begins. Not with a monumental effort, but with a single, intentional, and surprisingly gentle turn of the key. Let me show you what it looks like, not in theory, but in the messy, real-world reality of a Tuesday morning. She knows she needs to start. She feels that familiar pressure in her chest. The clock is ticking, but starting feels like trying to jump onto a moving train. Her mind is everywhere. She's thinking about a typography choice, then about a rude comment from a client last week, then about whether she brought her umbrella. It's mental static. This is the critical moment, the moment where, for years, she'd become the willpower warrior. She'd grit her teeth, mutter, "Just do it," and try to force her attention onto the blank screen. She'd last about 8 minutes before the itch to check Instagram or just quickly see if that client replied became unbearable. And then she'd fall down the rabbit hole, emerging an hour later feeling defeated. But today is different. Yesterday she heard about this idea of a pre-game ritual. It sounded too simple, almost silly. It's not a 2-hour morning routine. It's 1 minute. 1 intentional minute before you start anything. She was skeptical, but the war wasn't working, so she's willing to try the tiny treaty. She takes a breath that's more like a sigh. Here goes nothing. Step 1, the phone. She doesn't just turn it over. She picks it up. She feels its weight, its smooth, cool glass. With a decisive click, she presses the button on the side and watches the screen go black. Not silent, off. Then she opens the top drawer of her desk. It's full of pens, charging cables, a pack of gum. She places the black rectangle inside, face down, and slides the drawer shut. The sound is a soft, final thud. Instantly, a part of her brain, the anxious, watchful part, panics. What if someone needs me? What if there's an emergency? It feels like letting go of a lifeline. Step 2, the single window. On her main monitor, she looks at the chaos. She moves her mouse and with one swift keyboard shortcut, Command plus W on a Mac, Alt plus F4 on a PC, she closes her email tab. The unread count, 47, disappears. Another shortcut. The Slack window vanishes. Her browser, with its forest of tabs, winks out. The screen goes dark for a second, then reveals her clean desktop background. A photo of a misty forest. All that's left open is her design software, and that one, daunting blank artboard. It's now the only thing in her digital universe. Step 3, the breath and the sentence. She puts both hands flat on the desk. The wood is cool. She can feel the faint vibration of the building's heater through her palms. She closes her eyes, just for a moment, and takes 3 deep breaths. Not perfect meditation breaths, just breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. On the third exhale, she says one sentence out loud, quiet enough that the person at the next desk doesn't hear. She says, "For the next 45 minutes, my only job is to explore 3 color palette options for the logo." That's it. The entire ritual took 53 seconds, and now the resistance hits. It hits like a wave. The silence in her head is suddenly loud. That blank artboard is terrifying. All the old urges come rushing back. Her hand twitches toward the desk drawer. Her mind offers a dozen brilliant alternatives. You should research competitors first. Maybe check that design blog for inspiration. Actually, you should probably answer that email from yesterday before you start anything new. The itch is physical. It's in her fingertips. It's a buzzing in her skull. This is the friction. This is the boundary. This exact feeling is where 95% of people quit. This itchy, anxious, this is too hard feeling is the wall. They mistake this discomfort for a sign that they should stop, that they're on the wrong track. So they open the drawer, they reopen Slack, they break the container they just built, and the moment is lost. But Sarah sits in it. She doesn't fight the itch. She just acknowledges it. Oh, there's the itch. She feels the urge to run, and she gently plants her feet. She picks up her stylus. She stares at the blank space. For a full 2 minutes, nothing happens. She feels like an imposter. Then, almost out of spite, she just drags a random shape onto the artboard. A circle. It's green, a ugly default green. She hates it. But she did something. She broke the absolute zero. She changes the green. She makes it a little softer, more sage than lime. That's okay. She adds a second circle, overlapping. What if the brand color was a duotone? She starts typing words into a text box. Ground and grown. The coffee shop's name. She tries a sturdy, friendly font. She makes it brown. Too boring. She makes it a dark, rich green. Better. She glances at the clock in the corner of her screen. 17 minutes have passed. A small miracle. She's still at her desk. She hasn't run. The itch has faded to a background hum. She's not in ecstasy, but she's engaged. She's problem-solving. Then, something shifts. Around the 22-minute mark, she's playing with a palette of moss green, warm cream, and a deep earthy burgundy. She's not thinking about emails. She's not thinking about the client's possible reaction. She's thinking about the feeling of holding a warm ceramic mug, about the smell of rain on soil. The colors start to feel right. They start to tell a story. Her hand moves the stylus with a new fluidity. She's not forcing ideas. She's following a thread of curiosity. What if the burgundy was just for a tiny accent? She gets an idea for a logo mark. A simple, abstract line drawing of a coffee plant sprout. It's not perfect, but it's a direction. She starts sketching, quickly, loosely. The outside world dissolves. The murmur of the co-working space becomes a harmless, distant ocean sound. The tap of the rain is now a rhythm she's working to, not a distraction. Ever feel like you're stuck in a creative rut, staring at a blank screen with a deadline breathing down your neck? I've been there, and so has my friend, Sarah. She's an amazing designer, but a few months ago, she hit a wall. Big projects felt like climbing Mount Everest, and her motivation was at an all-time low. Every day was a battle against procrastination, and she was on the verge of burning out completely. She felt like her creativity had just vanished. Then one afternoon, while scrolling aimlessly, she stumbled upon a simple but powerful idea. Microflow. It's not about grand gestures or waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration. It's the exact opposite. It's about breaking down those massive, intimidating tasks into tiny, almost ridiculously small steps. So small, in fact, that it feels silly not to do them. Sarah was skeptical, but she was also desperate. So she decided to give it a try. Her next project was a complete website redesign, a task that would normally paralyze her for days. Instead of writing "design homepage" on her to-do list, she wrote "Open Figma." That was it. That was the first task. She did it, and it took about 5 seconds. Then she wrote Create a new 1920 pixel frame. Done. Next, draw a box for the navigation bar. Done. Something magical started to happen. Each tiny check mark on her list gave her a small hit of dopamine, a little jolt of satisfaction. These weren't giant leaps, but tiny steps forward. Open Figma turned into draw a box, which turned into choose a font, which turned into a rough wireframe. By the end of the day, without ever feeling overwhelmed, she had a solid foundation for the homepage. She hadn't waited for inspiration to strike. She had built it, one tiny action at a time. This is the essence of microflow. It's about tricking your brain. When a task is huge and undefined, our brain perceives it as a threat and triggers a fight-or-flight response, which often manifests as procrastination or anxiety. But when a task is as simple as open a file or write one sentence, there's no threat. It's too easy to resist. You just do it, and that one small action creates momentum. It's like getting a heavy flywheel to turn. The first push is the hardest, but once it's moving, each subsequent push gets easier and easier until it's spinning on its own. Sarah started applying this to everything. Brainstorm logo ideas became draw 5 circles on a page. Write a project proposal became open a new document and type the client's name. She was essentially creating a runway of easy wins that led her directly into a state of deep focus, or flow, without the usual anxiety-ridden takeoff. The resistance that used to meet her at the start of every project was gone, replaced by a gentle, steady pull forward. Think about how this could apply to your own life. Are you trying to learn a new skill? Don't put learn to code on your list. Instead, try watch the first 5 minutes of a tutorial video. Want to start a fitness routine? Forget go to the gym for an hour. Your first step is put on your workout clothes. That's it. You can decide what to do next after that. The goal is to make the entry point so laughably easy that you can't say no. What Sarah discovered is that motivation isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a result of it. We often think we need to feel inspired to start, but more often than not, the inspiration comes after. We've already begun. Those tiny steps, those micro-actions, are the building blocks of momentum. They accumulate, and before you know it, you're not just moving, you're flowing. You're in that creative zone where time seems to disappear and ideas connect effortlessly. Over the next few weeks, Sarah's entire work life transformed. She was no longer afraid of big projects. She just saw them as a collection of tiny, manageable tasks. She was finishing her work faster, with less stress, and the quality of her designs actually improved. Why? Because she was spending less time fighting her own brain and more time actually creating. She was no longer a victim of her creative moods. She was the architect of her own workflow. She had built a sustainable system for creativity, so the next time you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or just plain uninspired, I want you to challenge yourself. Forget about the mountain in front of you. Just focus on the very first pebble you need to move. What is the smallest possible action you can take to move forward right now? Make it so small it feels absurd. Write one word. Draw one line. Pick up the guitar. Just do that one tiny thing. You might be surprised to find that that's the only push you need to get the flywheel spinning. You can build your own momentum, one micro-action at a time. This isn't about a lack of talent or a failure of discipline. It's about understanding how our brains are wired and using that knowledge to our advantage. We can outsmart procrastination. We can build a system that invites flow instead of waiting for it to show up unannounced. Sarah's story is proof that the biggest breakthroughs often come from the smallest beginnings. Give it a try this week. Identify that one big, scary task you've been avoiding. Now break it down. What's your open Figma? What's your put on your running shoes? Share it in the comments below. I'd love to see what tiny steps you're taking. Let's build some momentum together. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more tips on creativity and productivity. See you in the next one.
Layer 4, the pregame. This is the ritual we saw before, now streamlined, phone in drawer. All applications closed except the one she needs, 3 breaths. 1 spoken sentence. For this session, my only job is to build the homepage layout in Figma. Click. Timer starts. She steps into the container. The first 10 minutes are always the same. There's the itch. The resistance. The part of her that wants to check the weather, or organize her desktop, or do literally anything else. She knows this now. She expects it. She doesn't fight it. She just acknowledges, there you are, old friend, and keeps her hands on the keyboard. By minute 12, the Aurora Drift track is looping for the second time, and she's in it. The design elements are snapping into place. She's solving problems. Layer 5, the reset. This is the most counterintuitive and most important part. At 10:45, the timer dings. She stops, even if she's on a roll, especially if she's on a roll. She saves her work, closes her laptop, stands up, and walks out of the building. She doesn't take her phone. For 17 minutes, she sets a timer on her watch. She just walks. She lives in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, so she walks past coffee shops under dripping trees, just noticing things. The smell of wet pavement and baking bread, the feel of the cool, damp air on her face. She doesn't listen to a podcast. She doesn't plan her dinner. She just lets her brain idle. This is a 2025 trend called non-sleep deep rest, or a brain reset. It's the essential palate cleanser between courses of deep work. When she returns at 11:05, her mind feels rinsed, clear, ready to build the next container. But this isn't a perfect movie montage. Let's talk about the setbacks. On Thursday of that week, it all fell apart. She slept terribly. A family member called with a minor crisis. She felt frazzled and behind. She skipped her balcony sit. She rushed to her desk, tried to jump straight into a flow session without the ritual. It was a disaster. 40 minutes of staring at the screen, rearranging the same 3 elements, getting nowhere. The old story roared back. See? You lost it. The system is broken. This is the pivotal moment. The old her would have given up for the day, maybe the week. The flow state architect version of her knew what to do. She performed what she now calls the reset ritual. She closed everything. She stood up from her desk. She walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, and looked herself in the mirror. She said, 1 container. Just build 1 container. She went back, started from layer 1, the signal. The song, she built the container again, smaller this time, just a 45-minute session. And it worked. The system isn't about never failing. It's about having a clear, compassionate way back when you do. She tracks this, not in a complicated app, but in a simple, elegant journal. Each day has a small circle. If she completes 1 flow session, she fills in a quarter of the circle with green. 2 sessions, half, a full circle is 4 sessions. Some days are just a sliver of green. Others are completely full. Over 2 weeks, you don't see perfection. You see a trend, more green. More full circles. The visual proof is undeniable. You're not relying on a feeling. You're looking at the data of your own focus, and it's growing. And then there's the community piece. Doing this alone is hard. Doing it with one other person changes the game. Sarah partnered with Leo, a writer friend in Brooklyn. They have a simple pact. Each morning, they send a 1-second voice message on the Voxer app. Sarah says, "Container 1, starting now." Leo messages back, "In the cave, go, that's it." That tiny social contract, knowing someone else is in their own container, building their own thing, is powerful. It turns a private struggle into a shared mission. It adds a layer of friendly accountability that feels supportive, not punitive. By the end of the second week, the rhythm starts to feel natural. The frantic 8-hour workday splinter has been replaced by a rhythm. Container, reset. Container, reset. It's not a straight line of effort. It's a wave you learn to surf. The time lapse of her life would show less frantic clicking, less anxious face scrunching. It would show longer periods of still, focused posture, followed by deliberate movement away from the screen. It would show the green dots filling in, one after another. The war isn't won by a single epic battle. It's won by showing up and building the container again and again. It's won on the tired Tuesday when you don't want to. It's won by honoring the reset as much as the work. It's the daily practice of being the architect of your attention, not the victim of your distractions. But this leads to the most beautiful and the most challenging question of all. What happens when this stack becomes your default setting? When the green dots are mostly full and the flow state isn't a rare event you chase, but the familiar place from which you work? What kind of life opens up on the other side of that consistency? And are you ready for the new challenges that wait for you there? It's a Thursday morning, 6 weeks later, and the sun is shining over Seattle in a way that feels like a personal compliment. Sarah is on her balcony again, but she's not wrapped in a blanket staring at the gray. She's in a light sweater, sipping her tea, and she's not just looking, she's seeing. She notices the precise shade of blue in the sky, the way the light catches the droplets on her rosemary plant. Her mind is quiet, not empty, but peaceful. There's no mental scroll of everything she has to do, because she already knows. It's in the containers.